Let's get it. And we'll
All
make
right. Ladies and gentlemen, Monday evening, you already know we didn't mean to keep you waiting, but technical difficulties are what they are, and that technical difficulty was my brain. Odd Future says it's 5:52, and I know, frightening truth already in the house. You already know. And look, I felt a little bad earlier, Jay, because to be fair, I told everybody earlier, the home field order ended up at a different location than my house, which is all good. I've reordered. We're going to do a giveaway with those shirts. It's all good. But I had to go to Academy today and get some different Texas stuff. But I noticed in the live earlier, the mic was covering up the Texas Longhorn on my other shirt.
good. It's a
And,
good thing.
the OU fans thought so, but it also kind of felt like I was cheating out on the bet. So I made sure today I had to, have one where the horns are much more visible. This is what happens when you
Boo.
lose bets. This is,
That's
yeah,
true.
I'm not bet. Truth, I will never bet my body ever again. But, Jay, you already know the drill, man. Before we really get started into all this, let the people know where they can find all your great stuff.
Y'all know where to find me, Jay Smith, Unfair Sports. This is my second home. I'm always, hanging out with my boy Ty. I feel bad for him because he lost that bet. Now he's got to wear the burnt orange. If he was wearing more of a, Tennessee bright orange, I wouldn't be saying anything, but he's wearing the burnt. So
That would hurt just as bad.
I know.
Actually,
I
worse.
kind of love. It would actually hurt worse for you because you don't have much of an alliance to Texas. It's just y'all battled each other for 2 years. But Tennessee is a rival for you, and honestly, that would just warm my heart to see you wearing some Tennessee orange. But I digress. Thank y'all.
Yeah.
Thanks for always having me. This is my favorite place to talk ball, and people say we need to do more of this together, and we're going to one day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Prime, my man, just got out of school. Glad you could join us. Ty, you can run the officiating shirt. I have a plan for Wednesday, and I haven't told anybody. But Jay, just know if the Halloween store is open in Denton, I have a plan for Wednesday evening for SEC Connect, and I'm just going to show up.
Ooh.
And
Okay.
if it's there, it's there. But I swear, I pray. I'm gonna get real into this one. I'm gonna throw everybody for a loop because I've never done anything like it. Everything over here has always been, I wouldn't say serious content, but you know what I mean. More like
Right.
we're here to talk ball. Like we'll have some friendly trash talk, but we're here to really talk ball.
Yeah. We're
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna have fun. I'll just put it like that. I'm very excited. So I will be attempting something. Truth. Primetime says that shirt is wrong. You have to wear it upside down. I know, man. I know. But a bet's a bet. What are you gonna do? I'll make the same bet next year with Jay right now about Alabama, Oklahoma. I mean that I don't mind that at all, right? Like these bets are just fun, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's a lot better than
It's always a
having
good
to go
time.
like streaking across your college campus because your fantasy football team just absolutely disappointed you in every way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that's always the worst part. I'm not sure how I'm going to actually respond to Chris, because we've had our differences around Oklahoma and I'm sorry, South Carolina and Tennessee, which it's weird. He's like an Auburn fan, a South Carolina fan, mainly because of Spencer Rattler and terrorizing you with Auburn. And he hates Joe Milton, and so he hates Tennessee. And so it's pretty funny that, we have this bet similarly on a shirt, and Tennessee just beat the dog out of South Carolina. So we got to figure out how that's going to work out too.
Prime. I mean, oh no, Prime. I'm gonna be committed to the bet until Saturday because that was the bet. But I will make the same bet with Jay when Alabama and Oklahoma play.
Oh yeah,
100% week long with the Sooner apparel, or Jay week long with the Bama apparel. Why not? That'd be fun. Cliff Walker. You know what? This is a great entrance into the first thing I think we need to talk about today, Jay.
Oh
Because this Colorado USC game, there's a lot to unpack. There's good and there's bad. And I think we need to start. We'll start with the good, right? I think that's always a better way to enter into these conversations. Colorado goes down by 14 a week after getting their teeth kicked in by Oregon. Now, I think there's a lot of other teams, Jay, that would go down by 14 a week after getting their teeth kicked in, look across the field, see a USC offense that's among the best in the nation, see a quarterback in Caleb Williams that just won the Heisman, may repeat. I mean, he's got just as good a shot as anybody in the nation. I'm not saying he's alone, but he's among the top. I think there's a lot of teams that may have laid down or not competed to their fullest capability. Colorado never did that. And I think that really shows something you and I have talked about, that yes, from a talent perspective, Colorado still has a lot of work to do, but from a coaching perspective, their coaches are getting them ready to play. And that's so apparent. And I think that them showing up every play of that game is a testament to the coaching that's actually happened there. They finished this game where, had they had more time, had they gotten the one, who knows what would have happened. But they came back and lost by 1 score. When we say there's good and bad to talk about this, it's good Colorado, bad USC defense. Let's start with the good Colorado. Jay, talk to me about how impressive this passing attack is and how impressive Deion Sanders is.
Look, I know a lot of people are tired of the Colorado conversations. I'm going to be honest. I'm not. Let me put this in perspective for a lot of people. First and foremost, Deion Sanders is some of a people that are football fans' favorite player to ever play the game. He's also arguably one of the greatest corners to ever play NFL football, college football, just football in general. And so seeing a great actually be able to turn into a decent to good head coach is mind-blowing, because we've never seen it before. Usually your greats struggle with the ability to teach people what they did, because in their mind, why can't you just do what I did, right? We've heard great players say that, so many struggle. And then Coach Prime walking in here, having the humility to bring in coaches to help build this team up, to me shows that he's light years ahead of what most would do. And so from there, you're seeing this offense with Deion Sanders. They brought a quarterback in that can't play. He has his mistakes. He has his faults. He has his flaws. We know them. He holds the ball too darn long. He throws off his back foot sometimes. He relies on his arm strength, which, you know, young college quarterbacks, it happens when you don't have the proper tutelage. Sean Lewis is leveraging him to the highest capacity possible. And I think the thing that jumped out to me the most, too, this week is this. Not only did Shedeur take the challenge, but Coach Prime challenged a lot of players on that team. Let me give you what I'm talking about. They asked him in the presser after the Oregon debacle and the thrashing they took from the Ducks, and asked him, hey, what's up with Cormani McClain? Why haven't I seen that freshman? And, you know, Prime immediately lashed out when he's ready to, when he shows up to meetings, when he comes to practice, when he's prepared, when he blah, 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 blah. All of that in order to get into his mind. But I don't think he only went after Cormani with that. I think that was a wake up to all of his team as well as his freshmen. He's letting them know, I brought in 60 plus players. I brought in my own bags and they're all Louis. Whenever you want to show that you're a Louis bag, get your butt out there and show us. Let me see that you're putting in the time, putting in the effort, and then I'm going to put you on the field and you're going to show out. What happened? The game looked like it was out of hand. He put in Omarion Miller. He put in Cormani McClain. McClain made a nice pass breakup, and you're like, oh, okay. My man looks like he's got something. And then Omarion Miller, 7 catches, what?
196.
Something yards? 196? I am in shock that this man went out there and did that against a USC defense that has a lot of talent, but obviously they've got flaws in coaching. Flaws. I am mind blown by the fact that I not only expected USC to do bad like this, I expected Colorado to cover this spread. This was the spread that they were supposed to cover against Oregon as well for Colorado. But the fact that these freshmen went out there and started showing out, hey, man, Coach Prime he's putting something together special, and he's already said it. If you don't see what we're doing, you're just being a hater. You just want me to fail. And he's right. I can see it. If he continue to stack players like this, he bring in more 5 stars, and he bring in more transfers that just needed the proper coaching. The sky's the limit for what they're doing.
Well, I mean, you look at the attention they're already garnering. And Stink Ass Cat, thank you for the 20. He says, you two are great analysts and both unbiased. Man, we've been very lucky to form a little bit of a college football community of content creators. And we have found a great little group of content creators that some guys we even haven't made as much content as we would have liked to with. But just know we got some stuff planned in the future. Both Jay and I are going to be making more content together, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Steven has a good idea here, though. He says, Jay, nice shirt. Can we get a horns down sign? Balance, right? Function.
Gotta balance it, baby. We gotta balance it.
I did want to talk about this, though, because Camilo says, why are we talking about a 3-2 Colorado? Because they're 3-2. because they were 1-11 last year, and because they just took USC to the woodshed. I mean, that was USC's toughest opponent. And I talked about this on High Top Sports Morning Show, whether it was important for USC to beat Colorado in spectacular fashion. And my answer was yes, and not because of transitive wins, right? Not because of some situation of, oh, well, Oregon beat Colorado by this much and USC didn't, therefore Oregon greater than USC. No, because that doesn't work in college football. And Allie with Allie Peak, that does great Gators content, she made that point, and very much well is true. But you don't have to play the transitive game. You can just simply look at the biggest question mark we've had for this team, and that's the defense, and ask yourself, will this defense be able to find success against this Colorado passing attack? Oregon's defense did, and we think that's a pretty good defense. The answer was no. And Jay, I'm going to, oh my word, Truth in here with the 50 bomb. He says, love you, Ty. I love you. I love you, Truth. Thank you so much for the 50. But I'm going to say something that Truth and I said earlier that was sad. And it's so ironic that Truth drops the donation right here, because he made a comment specifically about this in my stream earlier. And he and I were going back and forth. Do you know what's even worse about this game, Jay? So we know it's good Colorado, and I'll come back to good Colorado, but we really need to talk about USC, right? That's the real conversation here. Do you know what's even worse about this game? People will look at the score and they'll be like, USC's defense is bad. Jay, USC went up by 14 against a team that had no semblance of the running game. If you're Alex Grinch, what do you think they're going to do? Pass. And still, you knew what was coming, and you could not. That's the part that stands out to me. Had this been a close game all the way through, I'd be like less inclined to be so disappointed by this defense. But the fact that you knew what was coming, and you still got torn up, that's tough. Jay, before I pass it to you, we've talked about these numbers so many times. Since 2000, the lowest ranked defense to win a national championship is 2010 Auburn at 53rd in the nation. I do believe Caleb Williams is so good, he could be an anomaly quarterback. I'm looking at you, 2010 Auburn. I'm looking at you, 2014 Ohio State, that came in at 26th. I'm looking at you, 2019 LSU, coming in at 32nd. And I'm not comparing him to any of those offenses. I'm saying he is that good where he could be an anomaly on this list. But that defense, I fear, will have them way out of contention. Jay, I pass it to you.
No, you're 100% correct. And that's the thing I feared when it came to USC. And I tried to tell USC fans that I'm cool with about this. I was like, look, Lincoln Riley's going to go out there and give you a master class on offense. They're going to be beautiful. Caleb Williams threw for 403 yards. He threw for 6 touchdowns. The man looked like 30 for 40. He only had 10 incompletions all game long. He had 1 interception because at a certain point, it was like, what the heck are we doing? And he threw a pick. Colorado walked out there and punched them in their mouths. And as it was mentioned by Cloud99, which is perfect, history was repeating itself. Tulane, 46-45. Colorado, if they had 1 more minute, they would have done that. If they just needed to make USC run the clock and punt. If they did that, Colorado was going to drive down the field and score. Because there was no way USC was going to stop them, which I never get why they can't. It's this is everything that Oklahoma fans told USC fans when Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch got there. We said, this is going to happen. Just be prepared. This is going to happen. And everybody laughed at us. And guess what happened? It showed up. It showed up. It showed up. And now we're just looking back like, dog, man. If Lincoln cared about defense, man, it would be different. Alex Grinch gots to go. Like, he did well at Washington State with an air raid offense going, and so he was able to make lemons into lemonade somehow. He figured out how to do it. But this dude's walking in with the highest qualities of lemonade, and he's not making lemonade right now. For some reason, he cannot figure it out.
And you know what's even worse to me, Jay? I both appreciate it. I must admit, I did have a lot of respect for the USC players afterwards, where they said, we let Alex Grinch down. It wasn't the scheme. We messed up. And I respect you falling on the sword for your leader. I truly do, because football is a team sport, and that showed me there is at least a level of buy-in at USC where they're going to be there for each other, and that's good. Here's what's bad, Jay. Did the players fail him at OU? All 3 years? Did the players fail him at Ohio State? Like, at what point is it not the players failing him? Because had this defense been playing lights out all year long, I might give that one to you. Being like, you know what? This passing attack, it's there. Sean Lewis's offense, it's tricky. Okay, maybe you failed him today. But did you fail them last week against Arizona State and the backup quarterback? Like, I guess my question is at what point is the situation what it is? And you're moving to the Big Ten.
Oh, Ty. Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State and honestly Michigan State, Wisconsin. I mean, we're going to go down a list of teams that's going to just run it down their throat. They're going to punch them. Before I continue that, Stinking Ass Cat, thank you. I just saw the 20 you did the super chat on one of my videos. We appreciate that. You know that we like to just talk ball and have a good time, and you know your contributions help us to be able to deviate from other things we need to do this content. Thank you again. But yeah, Todd, we're gonna keep repeating this over and over. So at some point we probably should just go ahead and just stick a fork in it because we know it's done. It's what we know is going to happen every single time. And to be honest, I don't think it ever changes, even if Lincoln Riley hires somebody else. I just don't think it will change. I feel like it's him. No matter what, because when we made our change, when we brought in Venables, we had that struggle 6 and 7 season. We struggled with evaluations of players. We refreshed 82% of the roster, especially on the defensive side, because we were trying to figure out why aren't these players who are highly rated not performing at the level that they should? We figured it out. And so we've refreshed 82% of the team. We've got a ton of new players. And what do? We start over. Now you got to look at this schedule. Look at who they got left, people. There's a fear. I'm glad you put this up here, Ty.
Yep.
Because this is something I want to talk about. Arizona. Arizona actually has a pretty potent offense with that new coaching staff.
I think they'll demolish Arizona. I don't disagree with you. Arizona has been impressive. I think they demolish Arizona. But, Jay, I really worry about Notre Dame. Estime hasn't had a big 2 weeks, but they're going to look for blood. And you don't think that they see USC as an absolute money game? Guys, they don't have the privilege of a conference championship. Everything for Notre Dame is style points right now. What better way 100%. To style point than this game?
Exactly. The thing, though, that helps USC with the Notre Dame game is that game's probably not going to be high scoring. It's going to be more of a defensive battle by Notre Dame and USC trying to figure out how to keep scoring. That one, the reason why I'm pointing out this Arizona game is USC should demolish them. Arizona's better than Arizona State. Honestly, Arizona is arguably at par, if not better than Colorado, just as a buttoned-up line setup. That one, the 21.5 point spread on this one in LA, that means if they were in Arizona, it was going to be a lower spread. You know what I'm saying? That's a 6 point swing. So you're looking at what? What's that? 15 and a half?
And Jay, to be 100% fair, Robert is saying Washington only beat Arizona by 7. I remember that game. I might be a little low on Arizona. I'll take that. I might be a little low on Arizona. Fair.
Rightfully so, though. They're still redoing things with the new staff there, just like Arizona State. They're trying to figure, because I think Arizona staff, this is their second year there, if I'm correct, and Arizona State's 1 year with Kenny. So they're figuring it out. But the thing is, man, Arizona plays defense. Arizona might make things uncomfortable for USC, but then with them making it uncomfortable, because it was 31-24. Mississippi State was 31-24. They're still going to put up numbers in these games. And if they put up numbers against this bad USC team, all that's going to do is beat them up in preparation for that Notre Dame game. That's where it's going to get. That physicality out of Arizona, if they are physical, that's when Notre Dame makes me nervous. But Notre Dame's just going to run it down their throat. Big Ten football.
100%. And then you even go further than that, man. So they have Utah right after, and Frightening makes a great point. What if they get Rising back and start clicking. You take you take a loss to Notre Dame, which that game is a toss-up. Make no mistake, if there's a USC fan, I'm not writing off that game. We'll talk about that game when it comes. That's going to be a great game. I've told Jay before the season, that's one of the games I'm most excited about this entire year. I have been so ready for that game. That's going to be a great one. But you look at this, you then have Utah, you have Washington, you have Oregon. I think you beat UCLA, but Dante Moore is also looking like a quarterback who's growing. And like, the Pac is good. They're lucky they don't put. Can you imagine this schedule if they would have also had an Oregon State and a Washington State? Like, instead of UCLA and Cal, what if it was Washington State and Oregon State? That schedule would absolutely be brutal. Terrible.
I'm just going to say they're lucky that they're playing Cal instead of Washington State. They're lucky they're playing UCLA instead of Washington State. They're lucky that they got Arizona instead of Washington State this year. And they're lucky they're not going to see Oregon State as well. The Pac is killing it in the game.
Great.
But when you look at this murderer's row, thank you, Truth, because this is exactly where I was going to. Notre Dame, Cam Rising, if he returns with Utah, and Cam is practicing right now. And by then, the 21st, which is in 3 weeks, there's a good chance he'll be back for that game. But Utah, defensively against Oregon State, held them to 21 points with an offense that was kind of inept because they got a backup quarterback that's still trying to figure it out. They go into that game, oh, God, it's going to be stupid. But then you look at Utah, you go at Cal. I mean, it's around the corner for them, up the street around the corner. But Cal's been playing teams pretty tough lately. Then you got Washington. And then you got Oregon. Traveling to the Autzen Zoo. You traveling to the zoo.
Guys, this is genuinely one of the harder schedules. Like, unironically, this is a tough schedule. Like, a really tough schedule. And I know Jay, you want to know the beautiful thing about this? There's going to be someone hear what we just said about them being lucky that they don't have a Washington, and they're going to be like, oh, y'all are dogging on USC. No, we're saying the Pac is that damn good this year.
Pac is really good.
The Pac is really that good.
Year, and it's funny. What's ironic about it is that they're the conference that's going to be broken up. And they have the best quarterbacks in college football right now, period. Top to bottom.
God.
That conference is the best quarterbacks in college football, top to bottom, period. Point blank, hard stop.
Yeah, guys, the Pac. It's so ironic that on the last year Steven, this is such great timing because I got halfway through saying this and then I saw your comment. It's so ironic that the Pac-12 is better, like top to bottom, than I can remember them. And it's just like,
honestly, even in USC's heyday, this is better than then.
And this is fair, Gary. That's why I said, Gary, I think you're very well placed in saying this. I'm not going to pick a winner for that Notre Dame game yet because I do truly believe it's going to be a great game. I'm in no way trying to make it seem like I'm writing off USC to lose any of these games. But point being, Caleb is great. We saw Superman in college football, and he had the 53rd best defense. I don't think that they're going to be able to win a national championship unless their defense is anywhere from 20 to realistically 45. And I say that just because I don't think you try and beat the anomaly of all anomalies. Do you get what I mean, Jay? Like, I don't think that you go to the casino thinking that you're going to be the anomaly to go all in on black one on roulette and win.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's a fair statement. And same thing for me when it comes to ND USC. The biggest thing with ND USC to me is Notre Dame does play defense. We saw that again. I mean, Riley Leonard and them are really good at Duke. Duke is a lot better than people think. They showed us against Clemson, and I think Clemson finished the season with 10 wins. Clemson will be a 10-win team that's having a bad season. You know what I'm saying? Like at minimum 9 wins. Clemson's not that bad. They're just still trying to figure themselves out with all their coaches leaving. But that ND USC game, to me, the fear I have for UNC is that because Notre Dame can run down your throat, Estime is probably the best back in college. He is the best top running back in college football right now. They're going to keep that going, and USC's not going to be doing anything about it. Like they couldn't stop Hankerson from getting 70-something yards rushing, and they were blowing out Colorado. Like, Colorado started to get their rhythm when they started running it down their throat. And then Shedeur Sanders right there. And Sam Hartman's seen a lot of football. He knows when he sees a bad one. He knows how to cook it up. So as long as Marcus Freeman plays with at least 11 players on the field, USC's going to have a challenge. It's going to be it's going to be a good game, though. I cannot wait to turn that one on. It's going to be a fun game.
So here's a question, Jay. Because I want to before we do that, Matt kind of reminded me, guys, if you're going to find yourself enjoying a beverage this Red River rivalry weekend, you might as well give Shady Mile Bourbon a try. They are now a sponsor of the channel. They have their rye bourbon. They have their wheat bourbon. And you order 2 bottles, you get a free t-shirt. Very grateful for Shady Mile to be sponsoring the channel. As always, though, I said this earlier, and I don't mean to be the boomer. If you're going to drink, Uber, be responsible. It's 2023. Working in law, I did way too many cases, drunk driving. Don't do all that, right? It's 2023. Catch your Uber. Enjoy your game. Enjoy your Shady Mile bourbon or any bourbon, Matt. But here's the question I have for you, Jay. Is it likely, because I see a lot of comments saying this, and I actually made it be known that my prediction for the Big 12 championship, here's what's wild. I haven't given my prediction for this weekend's game, though we kind of already know where I have to pick because I lost the bet, right? So
I mean, you don't have to pick that. That wasn't a part of the bet. Your bet was what you're wearing today, this week.
I was operating under the assumption that I was repping Texas all week.
You're just wearing their shirt. You don't have to pick them. Ever.
Okay, well, we'll let the Texas fans in here that I made y'all. But regardless, I did let it be known my pick for the Big 12 championship game. I think that we're going to see a repeat of the Red River rivalry this week, because when I look at the Big 12, there are 2 teams that, in my opinion, are head and shoulders, just absolute head and shoulders better than everybody else right now. I said this last week, and I maintain it. Oh, I don't have to. Okay, cool. I said this last week. The question that they posed on Barstool was ridiculous, right? Is Oklahoma a bad team? That's ridiculous. If they want to say how high is Oklahoma's ceiling, where should we rank Oklahoma in the top 12 teams? Those are all fair questions. All fair questions.
Yeah. No, and the funny thing is how quietly Oklahoma is doing everything. We were last year was a very disappointing season. Don't want to remind everybody of that, but it was a disappointing season without context. Without context, it's a very disappointing season. And so because of that, the expectations of that year coming into this year, everybody's like, oh, it's probably going to end up like last year because they started last year off 3-0, stellar defense, blah, blah, blah. And then you started seeing everybody get tired. And I guess we're transitioning into the next game, Ty? Is that what we're going to do right now? Should we go ahead and transition over into that next game?
If that's what you want to do, I was, you have an equal share in the stream.
All right, well, then we're going to go ahead and transition right into Oklahoma versus Iowa State. And I said this in my morning recap, said it in the live stream. You're going to hear this, Sooner fans. If you follow me at Unfair Sports, you know that I've said this numerous times. I recognize that as that game went on and progressed against Iowa State, we beat them 50-20, which only 2 teams have scored 50 points or more against a Matt Campbell and John Heacock coach team. TCU last year and us this year. Campbell's been there for a few years. He don't give up that many points. They don't, regardless of who they play. And we went out there, we cooked them. But what I recognized was because of all the stuff happening at Iowa State, all the bad things that we've seen with the gambling and the choices of these kids having underage betting and all of that jazz, they look like they're falling apart. I think they found their identity a little bit more when they beat up on Oklahoma State.
Yes, and I talked about that going into this game, that they had certainly found something. Now, what that was, I didn't know, but they had found something.
Yep, they found something. So I think Rocco's figuring it out. And what we did when we walked in that game is we completely overlooked them. And this is how we started eating the rat poisoning. Billy Bowman got a pick 6 on the first possession of the game. That possession right there, you know what that told me? Okay, they started feeling themselves, especially the safety room. They're like, oh, yeah, they're not going to do anything to us. So if we go out there and go lackadaisical and just barely play, guess what? We'll win this game, no problem. But then that thing that Iowa State found, for 21 minutes, they put it on Oklahoma. And we were like, BV&M looked at them and said, hey, I mean, y'all want to embarrass yourselves, go right ahead. But we told y'all, we don't overlook teams. I don't care that Texas is next week. We look at the opponent in front of us every week, because every week we are 0-0 until we win that game. Then we're 1-0. Every week it's 1-0. And they recognize that and say, yeah, we did. All right, let's tighten this thing up. What they do, Ty? Let me tell you what they did. We went out there for the next 39 minutes. We held them to 93 yards, under 100 yards for the rest of the game. 0 points, 90 for 39 minutes. That is not happening in the Lincoln Riley regime. That is not, honestly, that's not happening at the end of the Bob Stoops era. It's not happening. That to me was the difference maker of this team. That told me, yeah, there's something else going on here. There's something else at play. These boys actually show effort and care. I forgot who I was talking to, but they made mention of one thing, and they said, it looks like this Oklahoma team actually, it's Coach I, he mentioned it. They look like they're afraid to lose their spots. As if Coach is telling them, hey, you keep screwing this up, guess what? We'll take you out. We'll put somebody else in. And Brent Venables is infamous for doing that at Clemson. That natural, it's like the fear of a child of disappointing their parents more so than actually getting in trouble. Like, that was always me as a kid. Wasn't afraid of getting in trouble with my parents, or especially with my mom. It was more so I didn't want to make her disappointed in me or make her feel like I let her down. That's what it feels like with this defense, and which is why I'm like, okay, I'm sold. I'm sold on what they're doing. They tighten up and go. Adjustments. Something that we did not see at USC when they let Colorado come all the way back.
Yeah.
Adjustments, all you need.
Well,
but going into that, Oklahoma is a good team, and all we've got to do is go out in Texas and make it a game. Regardless, win or lose, if it stays close, people won't question us anymore.
I think that's completely fair. I think that it's ridiculous to question, like, is OU good? They're good. If we want to get into the nuance of where they should be ranked, how good, that's all well and fair, right? Because I think we can have a similar conversation about several teams this year. And I think the only reason we're having that conversation about Oklahoma is because of the season they just had, right? I think had they had a good season last year, everybody would be giving them the benefit of the doubt. But, that is fair, right? Kind of having these questions. I don't think that some of the questions are misplaced. I think some of the way the questions are asked are incredibly misplaced. Like a cool breeze. Yeah. Truth is hilarious, man. Are different this year. This is the one thing I'll say, right? This is how you know that the defense is better. Regardless of opponent, are you playing with confidence? Are you playing with understanding? And the answer for OU has been yes. They're playing with confidence. They're playing with understanding. I think that the one question I have for Oklahoma, Jay, and it's ironic because I didn't think I'd have this as a question, is the rushing attack. Because ironically, Oklahoma's time of possession is better than it was last year. Everything offensively is better, and they're doing that without a rushing attack, which tells me if they had a rushing attack, this offense would genuinely be on a different level because they would have that balance of the control. And now they're able to put defenses in bad positions, which they still can do, but they would be able to do it much. What are you thinking about the running back room? What are the injuries looking like?
So, being honest about a lot of it is with our two backs that did everything they did at, James, that's a good question. I need to go ahead and get a bottle of that.
Oh, you'll have one sent your way. You don't worry about that.
No, our two big backs, Javonte Barnes as well as Gavin Sawchuk, we all know what they did against Florida State's defense, which was a top 20 ranked defense in the country in that bowl game. And let me caveat here. Florida State was one of like 5 teams in college football that set out 0 players in their bowl game. Everybody on their team played. They actually had nobody opt out. Everybody they had 0 opt-outs, which still shocks the mess out of me. Like, why did they have all these players playing that game? But must be an alliance to Mike Norvell. He's doing something right? But we were able to get 2 100-yard rushes in that game from these two. And coming into this season, we were dealing with nagging injuries from both. Like Javonte Barnes had toe surgery in July to help with an injury, an injury he was dealing with in high school. So they had to clean something up because he was starting to, get annoyance. And so now they're getting to the point where we'll get them back into game shape. Hopefully they've been training over the last few weeks to get going, but Marcus Major, he had a pretty good bowl game too against Florida, and just he just couldn't stay healthy. And so hopefully we're starting to see a growth in that area. We're not the same power running attack we used to be, but honestly, our pass game is a hell of a lot better. We've got an elite wide receiver room. Like, it's crazy how good a wide receiver room is right now. And so I'm just curious to see what that's going to turn out to be in the next couple of weeks when we play Texas, which I think Texas is probably the best defense we would see for the rest of the season. It's the last one. It's Iowa State and Texas. That's really the two defenses
by far. Yeah.
Two defenses in the Big 12 that are just stouch that we're actually going to see. Now, BYU may be a challenge because it's in Provo, in the altitude, and they look like they're pretty disciplined, but for the most part, just those two teams. We gave it to Cincinnati, which they weren't a bad defense, and now they're just falling apart. So, yeah. I mean, West Virginia's going to be a challenge now because they're actually playing
West Virginia's playing good. And, Camelo, here's what I will say. Texas's run game has really come alive the past 3 games. Like, the past 3 games, they have I don't question a run game for Texas now. Brooks is toting that rock. He is running like a man possessed. He's really good. But I talked about this before, that he was going to be a guy that was really good. Going from Bijan is tough, man. The fact that they're hitting the ground running like that, which I like the running backs in y'all's room. We've talked about this all the time, but I think injury right now, like, I don't know the exact health status of Barnes or Sawchuk Walker's toting it. Major's doing his thing, but those other guys, Sawchuk and Barnes, they're difference makers.
Yeah, it's just getting them healthy. And right now, it sounds like, BV mentioned it in a presser. Barnes's toe hasn't been responding the way he wanted, and probably at the same time, he's also not at the conditioning that they want. He'll get there. We'll take time. We'll do it. Same thing with Sawchuk. Sawchuk's just not. He's coming off that hammy, and he's just got to get back in game shape. And I think once he gets comfortable with planning on that hammy and not thinking about it, it's kind of like the way Tiger Woods was after he had his first knee surgery in his pro career. And he said that when he would swing the club, he would still think about that knee, so he wouldn't swing it like he used to. He was just nervous about it. And the same thing with his back. At a certain point, he started getting more comfortable and get going, but then he started having more and more injuries, and his life fell apart. I think that with Sawchuk, as long as he gets to where he's no longer hesitant on that hammy, he'll get back to his old form because he's fast. He's a burner. We just got to get him just flying up there. And I think that's where we'll probably see more of him against Texas. We'll probably see a lot more Sawchuk with Major, as well as Tyree Walker, which I love the little bowling ball that he is out on the field.
Jung's right, correct here. He says a few corrections, excuses. USC was up by as much as 27 points in the third quarter against Colorado and not 14. But my point there was that they opened up the game 14 up. And if you open up a game 14 up against a team can't run the football and has a top 5 passing attack, you inevitably know what's coming towards you.
Right.
And that makes it even worse, right? That what's coming and you can't stop it. And I will grant you this one. USC had a 4 a.m. wake-up call on Saturday. I think they were that could suck. I will grant you that would suck. But this one right here, I don't buy into as much, in fairness, just because you had 7 days to recover. Yeah. That doesn't move me as much. The 4 a.m. one, I can imagine that would suck. I don't think that's an excuse for Alex Grinch's defense underperforming for this year, last year, and at Oklahoma and at Ohio State. And so I hear you, but this problem isn't relegated to Saturday, Young. It's a problem that we've seen show its ugly head last year, this year, 3 years at Oklahoma. He inherited an Ohio State defense that was a top 25 defense in the nation. It got to 65 in the nation. He left, and it instantly achieved a top 25 defense again. My aversion is not to what USC is doing. My aversion is to the defensive scheme they're running, because at a certain point, I just don't think it's working. Right. And that's where I'm at, Young. I do grant you, though, that 4 a.m. kickoff, I can imagine that would suck.
Yeah, probably does. That is, that's bad. Your Pacific time is 9 a.m. And the unfortunate thing for USC fans and USC in general, get used to it. You're playing in the Big Ten. Next year, you're going to be having a ton of those. Big noon kickoff is there for a reason. You're gonna have a lot of those games, especially traveling cross country. And the lucky thing for them, they only traveled an hour out of their time zone, so it's not as bad. But yeah, it sucks. It sucks having those early games. I totally agree. It sucks for California folks to get up at 10, get up at 9 a.m. to watch college football, 8 a.m. to prepare, and start pre-gaming at 8. That's a lot of beer and a lot of drinking and a lot of hours of drinking that's going on in that day. Really wild. But on that, I mean, we talk about how bad they are. USC's defense, I mean, they gave up 28 points to San Jose State to start the season. San Jose State scored 59 against Cal Poly, but they scored 17 against Oregon State, 17 against Toledo, and 20 against Air Force.
And Arizona State had their backup quarterback in. Rashada wasn't playing.
Rashada wasn't playing in that game, so they gave up 28 points to Rashada. Of all people. I'm not Rashada, but Arizona State without Rashada. That's my point. So, yeah, I put it like this. Somebody mentioned it earlier. This reminds me of Tulane, and it reminds me of a lot of games that Oklahoma played with Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch here. Teams that shouldn't be scoring as many points as they do. Their highest output against another, G5 or even P5 team is against this team.
Let me give some shout outs to some great content creators in here with us this evening. Quarterback Spotlight, friend of the channel, someone who I used to do a lot of content with. Been trying to get him back on. We need to get you back on instantly, QB Spotlight. He does great stuff. Guys, if you're interested in how quarterbacks are playing the way they are, why they're playing the way they are, and what makes them click, go over to Quarterback Spotlight. He does fantastic stuff, breaking down quarterback play, and he played the position, so that his information is good. Thank you as always for being over here, man. We got to get you back on really soon. And Jason with Hall of Fame College Football Podcast, another friend of the show in here this evening. Y'all already know. Go show Jason some love. He's usually in here as well. Awesome that you're in here, Jason. But I will say this, Thunder Pup says USC versus Colorado. You can't deny playing at altitude. USC getting tired towards the end while Colorado had stamina. See, that's something that is reasonable. Like, altitude is a real factor, right? I'm not going to, because you look at the UFC fighters, you look at some of these dudes, they train at altitude. Gaethje, Usman, right? Yeah. They train at altitude, and they're in the 5th round, just straight up running people down, and the other people are crumbling. That altitude is real. And my brother is a professional cyclist, was a professional cyclist when he was younger, and he would try and train at altitude. So I do grant you that the altitude could suck, but I also think we also need to acknowledge that's a true point, Thunder, but it's also true that it wasn't just relegated to a bad defensive performance at altitude. We've seen bad defensive performances too often, and that's where I still think it's notable. But I do grant you altitude. I will. And
I actually said that exact thing when I was talking about the USC Colorado game, and I had some people attacking me. Saying that's ridiculous. USC's going to go out there and blow them out. I mean, Oregon did it, blah, 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 blah. We forget, man, Dan Lanning is a master whiz at defense, and he knows how to keep the foot on the gas on the defensive side of the ball. That's the most important part. But go ahead and answer Levi's question. That's a good one.
Levi Cox saying, why are you wearing a horn shirt? Because I lost a bet, Levi. I lost a bet. I bet that Alabama would beat Texas. Truth and I entered into a bet. Oh, geez, I want to say last year, pretty much after the game last year. This has been a thing for just about a total year. Whoever won the game, if Texas won, I would have to wear I would have to wear a Texas shirt during Red River rivalry, because we always do some stuff over here, and we have a little group going together of content creators of OU and Texas fans. So, I lost a bet. So, gotta wear it. It is what it is. All in good fun. Our Olympic athletes great point, Robert. Like, your Olympians train at altitude. I will grant you altitude. I will grant you that.
It makes sense. It 100%. Like I said, I said that was a fear. That has been my fear with Oklahoma versus BYU at the end of the season, especially if they do it at night. Altitude. Not saying that altitude can be a factor, especially if your team's not prepared. And we all know how Alex Grinch and Ben Wiley does their conditioning. I'll just put it that way. Yeah.
Anyway, not good. Now, as we're winding down, I do want to get to some kind of fun topics, right? I talked about Texas, Kansas earlier. Jonathan Brooks emerging in that game is huge for this Texas offense. Like that's huge for this Texas offense. And Texas did their thing. I know Daniels wasn't playing, but guys, Bean's a good quarterback. Bean is a good quarterback. He's one of the better backups, I think, in the nation.
I will spot you that. But Kansas also walked in this game at like the 106th ranked defense or defense efficiency. And the best part about Texas is they took advantage of it. 100%. This has always been my take about teams, who you play, and blah, blah, blah. As long as you take care of business against teams you're supposed to take care of business, I can't knock you for it. I can't knock you based upon your competition. They took care of business against the Kansas team that they're supposed to. That's what you're supposed to do. Jalen Daniels would have been more of a challenge, though, because Jalen has kind of a Caleb Williams-esque type setup. Like, he's not as good as Caleb, but he can go carry a team to wins that he's probably not supposed to carry them to because he's just that talented of a player. He changes that game dramatically. Like, it's a challenge. It's going to be a challenge because he's really hard to stop. But I don't think Bean had a chance of leading them to anywhere close to a victory against Texas because Texas is too stacked across the board. Plus, Jonathan Brooks just ran it down their throat. Their defense is not good. Their passing defense with Kobe Bryant on one side, and I'm not sure who the other corner is at this point. As long as you don't throw to Kobe, you're good. We learned that last year when we played Kansas. As long as we didn't throw to Kobe side, we were fine. And the unfortunate thing for him and the fortunate thing for us is Kobe got hurt like within the second quarter of that game. And so we just started exploiting everybody else, even with the team as bad as Oklahoma was last year. And so Texas went out there and ran down the throat. Jonathan Brooks, the last 3 weeks, over 150 yards each game. He's been on it. And so for us, for Oklahoma going into that game, we got to make sure that man isn't going to be, like you said, going from Bijan to somebody else. Bijan's a game changer. Bijan is his own stratosphere of an athlete in college football. The dude's a monster, right? And so being fair to them on this, Texas has got themselves a team. The question's going to be when we go through position by position and talk through the way things look for them, that's going to be my comparison chart. I want to look at it position by position, style by style, and see what it looks like going into it. And the biggest thing in especially this weekend's game, which is, the best, game of the week, probably game of the season, is who's going to make the better adjustment? Who's prepared to make the adjustment needed to win? And so Texas took care of business against Kansas. They did. Period. Point blank, hard stop. They took care of business. And now we've got to see if they can continue that streak.
We're not going to talk about this game. I will say one thing, right? I'm very interested to see how the interior of the offensive line for any team, not just Oklahoma, but like this is for any team, handles. I was interested in it when Alabama played Texas, how they handle those two monsters on the interior. Because Texas has got, hey, here be monsters on that Texas interior defensive line. Murphy and Sweat, they're monsters. They're legit monsters. Now, don't get me wrong, Bill Bedenbaugh is one of the best in the nation for a reason because of those offensive lines. Every game Texas plays in, I'm going to be watching that defensive front. Because I want to see what they do, how they muscle it and how they do it. That's a curious one for me in that game as well. Is I want to see the trenches, because that's, if anything, that's been the battle we've had for years. Trenches. Yeah. Whose trenches are better? Whose trenches are more focused? Whose trenches are getting the job done? So yeah, that's what I'm curious to see what that's going to look like in this game. So yeah, it's going to be fun talking about it all week. We'll be talking about it probably every day. Everywhere you see me, you'll probably be here talking about it. It's going to be fun. Well, as we're kind of winding down, I kind of wanted to do something fun. I did it today, and I didn't tell you about it, as always, right? We like putting people on the spot here. Biggest blunders of the week and your game of the weekend, right? Mm-hmm. And your biggest blunders can be anything, right? Anything. I'll start, right? Sure. Game of the week, I already said it earlier today, it's got to be Baylor, right? Like, I don't think that there are ever any right or wrong answers, especially in stuff like this, but this is a week where there is a right and wrong answer on game of the week, and the right answer is Baylor. I'm not saying it's the right. They came back from how many? 28? Mm-hmm. I mean, come on. That's awesome.
This is reminiscent of what they did to TCU in the bowl game.
God. Yeah.
Yeah, first half it was like 31-7, and then the next thing you know is 38-38. They're going into overtime and they pull it out. Like, wow. Yeah.
And truth is already on my blunders.
Yeah.
Florida.
Blunder was Florida. I was going to say the same thing. Kentucky ran it down their throat. Davis had over 200 yards before midway through the second quarter.
I messaged y'all in our group chat that he was well on his way to 1,000.
Yeah. Florida they wet the bed so bad. That was so bad.
And I picked Florida to win. I don't know if you see I quote tweeted it and I was like, what's the return policy on the Florida pick?
You definitely, because that was definitely your pick on Bleacher Report. By the way, for those that don't know, and how many we have in here, first and foremost, 90 people watching, 32 people have liked. Please wipe your feet before you walk through this door, while you're in the house. But we also do a roundtable pick'em on the Bleacher Report app every Friday. This month will be on there at 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern every day, every Friday. So definitely jump on there. We'll be talking these games. We'll talk ball and talk about who's going to win, blah, 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 blah. So, but you picked this Bleacher Report one. You really put yourself out there by selecting Florida out of this one. Others of us pick Kentucky.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. It's because when I looked at this, both teams had good defenses coming into this game. Leary had been playing all over the place, and Mertz hasn't been playing bad football. And in this game, Mertz, once again, was not the problem. Leary didn't do anything, but they got their ass kicked.
They really did, and it was so bad. Dude, yes, Davis had 280 yards rushing, dude. And it's funny because some people have talked about how good of a running back room they had, and I was just like, they lost Cavassier Smoke, so Ray Davis is going to go in there and just take over? Oh, yeah, Ray Davis did. Ray Davis walked in there, got himself 280 yards rushing.
Jeez, that's a great point. That is a great... They lost Cavassier Smoke. And can you imagine that one, too?
Oh, gosh.
Boy. And Steven has a good one here. He says, can I say West Virginia TCU is the game of the week for me? Who would have guessed West Virginia being 4-1? This is acceptable. Because Neil Bryant, I thought, would be packing his bag. I said Neil Brown.
Neil Brown. Yeah, Neil Brown. Yeah.
Neil Brown, not Neil Bryant. Jeez. I thought Neil Brown would be packing his bags at this point of the season, and he is not. What do you think about that one, Jay?
Man, shout out to my boy Coos over there. Coos Corner does a whole bunch of West Virginia content, Big 12 content. Great dude. I cannot believe that West Virginia is showing out like they are, except for the fact that I like Garrett Green. I liked him from the beginning of the season. I thought that when he came in against us and won that game for West Virginia last season, I was like, there's something different about this kid. He's given us that, right? TCU is not a good team. We're learning that now. We're learning because Garrett Green went out there and got 80 yards rushing while having an abysmal pass game of 142 yards on 10 of 21 throwing.
You know what makes that worse, Jay? Did you peep Leary's stats versus Florida?
I did not.
I'm going to make, not you sad, I'm going to make me very sad right now. Jay, he was 9 of 19 for 69 yards and 1 touchdown. They lost 14-33. He had less than 70 yards. Graham Mertz threw for 244 yards, had 5 incompletions, 2 touchdowns to 1 interception. Now, if I would have told any of you in this chat, be honest, if I would have told you that Graham Mertz would throw for 4 times as many yards, have 2 touchdowns to 1 interception, I think everybody would have picked Florida. How?
I had no clue that Devin Leary only
had
less than 7 yards passing. I thought that it was, I knew it wasn't balanced. I knew the run game was what did it because when I was watching, every time I looked up, Ray Davis was running it, I felt like for a touchdown. But geez, Louise, like what? 69 yards. Yes, James, perfect number. 9 for 19, 69. That he 91969. He did it all. They didn't have to throw the ball. Is Florida's defensive line as bad as their offensive line? Do both of them move and submit?
I guess. But Jay, they had one of the top run defenses in the SEC. Like they were number 1 or number 2, and like they were one of the better defense. I can't believe
Kentucky
that game.
Found the glitch. Now this might be most likely be a blip, and Florida will still go back to having a really good defense on the run. But they found the glitch in the matrix. They went in and exploited that bad boy and took advantage of it for the rest of the whole game. That's gonna be crazy. And Camelo. Wow. That is a hot one. Wow. I don't know how I feel about even saying it out loud, because even though you're saying that and it feels like such a hot take, Auburn gave them the business.
Auburn. Now, wasn't it in Jordan Hare?
It was. You said weird things happen there.
I'm telling y'all, Oklahoma fans, Texas fans, you can send me my letters once you play in Jordan Hare. Weird stuff happens there. Genuinely. God. Okay, so, and it can be the same game I just talked about, Jay. It doesn't have to be a different game. What's your biggest blunder of the weekend? Because for me, it's got to be the Florida defense, though I almost said Notre Dame. I'm not going to lie, Jay. I made myself laugh so hard with what I sent in our group chat this past weekend about Notre Dame. I made myself laugh for days. For everybody wondering, Notre Dame was on their usual Notre Dame stuff, about to lose the game. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 8th grade before I went to Gainesville High School. So I sent in our group chat that Notre Dame is the most damaging experience with Catholicism I've had in my whole life. As I hit send, they estimate scores the long touchdown to win the game. So I instantly reply back, never mind, praise be.
Yeah. I got cracking up. I was sitting there looking at that like this dude here, this guy. All right, blunder. If you want me to give me your blunders, UCF.
Ooh.
You're up 35-7. And you allow them to score 29 unanswered points?
Yeah.
35-7. Folks, UCF was in day behind, cooking them. And then it went from 35-7 to 35-10 to end the quarter. From there, let me pull up this play-by-play, because I think the time of this was baffling to me more than anything. This is what you call blundering, right? We're going into the fourth quarter. 5 plays, 44 yards, 2 minutes and 43 seconds. They throw an interception. Baylor does what? Score a touchdown. 3 minutes of possession. Next one. 4 plays, punt. Baylor, 5 plays, touchdown. Just a minute. Next up, this is when it's 35-26, and we're like, okay, nothing else could go wrong in this game, right? Right? UCF fumbles the ball in its return for a touchdown. Makes the game a 2-point game. Then, what did UCF do? Punt. And how do we wrap this bad boy up, Ty? How do we wrap this thing up? Field goal. 36-35 Baylor. And to end the game with 1 minute and 14 seconds left, UCF drives down the field, 11 plays, 33 yards, and they're going to make this happen. They kick that field goal, 59 yards. No good. How do you allow a team how does all of this misfortune happen to you? I just had to look at this play-by-play for y'all. Because when I looked at it, I'm just like, how did they, like, what was the chain of, but when I saw that fumble recovery, I was like, oh no. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Oh no. That's all I saw in my head was that hearing that song as they fumbled. It was terrible. Oh, gosh.
I lost a bet, man.
Leave Ty alone, y'all. He lost the bet. I have to.
You know what makes it better? Shady Mile Bourbon, ladies and gentlemen. This weekend on your most esteemed of weekends, choose to enjoy it with Shady Mile, sponsor of the channel. You see how I segued that one in there?
I love that. That was beautiful. Actually, you know what? That's probably one of the better segues I've heard in a long time. I actually appreciate that.
I used my pain to channel it.
You did.
They don't do that on cable TV anymore.
They do not anymore.
They don't do that
nice transition.
Anymore.
So he just drinks away his pain with Shady Mills.
Yeah. How was I gonna let that? No, all fair. Guys, we're probably gonna get out of here because I've got a burger waiting. We've been going an hour. Jay, as always, my man, where can the people find all your great content? And let's go ahead and lay out the timeline of content this weekend because we got a lot.
Oh, God, man. So you can find me, Unfair Sports. Follow me on YouTube as well as whatever podcasts I download and listen to. I have an Unfair Sports podcast as well as Sooner or Later Sports podcast where it's all Sooner stuff. Only thing we talk about, but Unfair, we dive into a lot of different things all around college football. That's my focus now. Tuesday night, I'll be on a space on X, Twitter, whatever they call themselves nowadays. I'll be on a space with a bunch of OU content creators. We'll be talking Red River and kind of just free flowing, having a conversation as it's his Hate Texas week. So I have to be a little bit biased. Wednesday night, the SEC Connect will connect as we usually do. And guess what's going to happen there? OU Texas. Ty will be our moderator. We will go through and have a detailed conversation about things, and he will control both sides, even though he'll be wearing that disgustingly burnt orange shirt. Thursday night, I'll be over at the Horns Down podcast as we fight it off with our resident Texas fans, and that one is just all hate. It's going to be hate back and forth. Hate. And to wrap up the week, we have Friday, which will be our roundtable with Bleacher Report. We'll go through 10 to 11 games. We'll give you our predictions, 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 Eastern. So make sure you join us to be able to listen to us make our picks, get in the app, make your comments. So we've got a long week of stuff. Also, Jason's going to be doing his thing. Tuesday nights, Hall of Fame, 7:30. He always drops the fire content. Check him out. And yeah, I'll just be dropping videos throughout the week. I think I have a few guests that'll be coming on. Hopefully some big name folks coming through. And yeah, it's going to be a busy week. And I'll also be in Dallas. So if you are in Texas and you're going to be at the fairgrounds, find me. I'll be rocking a NBV We Trust shirt. So you'll have a shirt from my channel there. Check it out. If you want one for yourself, go to my channel. You can buy one too. All that jazz. But no, Hall of Fame, we know we love you.
If anybody wants to be nice and gift my wife and I some tickets to the Red River, that'd be amazing. I would certainly take that up. But in seriousness, guys, busy week ahead of us. Tomorrow you can catch me on Through the Haze in the morning, releasing some content after. In the evening, you can catch me on the Bama Standard. The Final Whistle, will be talking there. Might have some former players roll through. We had Quan Menzie roll through a few weeks ago. That was awesome. Getting to talk to him about the Alabama secondary as someone who played in the Alabama secondary. Wednesday night, we have the SEC Connect. I have something up my sleeve. So long as the Halloween store is open, if they're open, I've got a little bit of a plan, and I'm going 0 to 100 if I can. All right. It's going to be fun. Thursday, we have the Through the Haze again, which will be also on Wednesday. And then Friday, we have our Bleacher Report show, as Jay said. Now, if y'all want to support more on Bleacher Report, I also do a Monday show as well on Bleacher Report on the Alabama panel. We recap the weekend's game. You can find me and Coach Smook over there, also a part of the Bama Standard. So would love to have you over there. Guys, as always, thank you for being over here. You want some college football merch, head over to Homefield, ATTS15, get you 15% off. And thank you to Shady Mills. Other than that, Shady Mile. You heard it here first, not Mills. Mills are where bad things happen, and miles are good for health. So Shady Miles, ladies and gentlemen. Shady Miles. All right, y'all. We're going to get out of here before I blunder something else, and I'll end up on the blunders of the week. Peace.